All right, we're live. Let's get some tunes rolling here. Let's get the live event happening. Yes. To Facebook page. What's going on, everyone here? Welcome back to Ask a Realtor. My name's Joseph Ausmus with eXp Realty, your host. Let's get it going on, all right? I got a couple of fun topics planned for you here tonight. Firstly, I want to give a shout out to my man Hayden for the first topic that we're going to talk about here, which is something called, and I didn't coin this term, but I love this term, called house hacking. So we're going to dive into that. I'm going to share some examples of how you could house hack, whether you own a home now or are thinking about getting into the market. A few different ways to get started in real estate investing. Cool. Awesome. And then from there, then we're going to talk about some more first-time homebuyer stuff. And we're going to talk about, specific to Colorado here, a program for down payment assistance for first-time homebuyers. And this program has been amazing to so many of my folks, gotten so many of my clients into homes that otherwise wouldn't have been possible. It helps really bridge that gap between I have this much money and I need this much to get into a home. A lot of folks are still operating under a very old school frame of thought, and it might have been something they heard from their parents, so on and so forth. But you need 20% to get down into a house. That is a myth, and we're going to bust that myth tonight on episode 5. So appreciate you guys logging in and checking it out. Oh, let me do this. Let me pop out the chat box here so I can keep track of chats as they roll through. And throw this one out here. What's up, everyone? Sweet. So if you're watching live, do me a favor, give me a thumbs up, throw a message in the chat. If you have questions that come up, or stories, anything awesome like that, I definitely invite you to participate. I want this to be, an open dialogue on each one of these episodes of Ask a Realtor. But let's see, we don't have anything up front here just yet, and that's beautiful. That's not a problem. So I'm going to dive into house hacking, and I pulled up a blog post off of one of my favorite websites. Website is called biggerpockets.com. Cannot recommend that website enough. It is chock full of resources. If you're a brand new investor, if you're a seasoned investor, does not matter. You can definitely get some good stuff out of biggerpockets.com. They've got forums, they've got podcasts, they've got blog posts, which I'm pulling this information here tonight from today. So, however you best learn, if you're a reader, if you're a podcast listener, if you interact in forum settings, there's meetups with real estate investors. I actually just attended a real estate investor meetup here. What was it? It was just this past week. Met some great folks that were at all different levels, and it was just awesome to hear people's stories about where they're at, where they're going, what they want to do, what they want to accomplish, what they have to offer, and it's fantastic time. So I recommend that, and you don't have to be an investor to attend one of those. This particular one I went to, I joined it off of the Meetups app. It's called Badass Real Estate Investors, and I met a bunch of badasses. It was great. So definitely recommend, if you're interested in this topic, if you nerd out on real estate like I do, those are just some great mixtures to get in. Go out there, buy a beer, a cup of coffee, and just meet some great folks and learn a thing or two, right? So awesome. What is house hacking? House hacking is the idea of combining your investment property with your personal residence. I love that definition because it's very much all inclusive. There's tons of different ways that you can do this, right? Um, if you buy a duplex, for example, which again, shout out to my man Hayden. We were just having some pizza the other day and chatting about this. Um, he's really interested in buying a duplex and living in one side of it and renting out the other side. Man, what a great way to get started in the investment game. Right there, what have you done? You've subsidized your housing payment. So let's say, like, just using round easy numbers. Let's say it costs you, you know, let's say it costs you like 3,600 a month, and you could rent out that other side for 2 grand. Well, guess what? You're living for 1,600 a month after you receive your 2 grand from that renter. Keep in mind, if you caught last week's episode, I talked a little bit about being a first time landlord 101. That's recorded. It's on my YouTube channel. Go check that out. But just briefly want to bring up that um, that full amount rent that you receive, you're really going to want to set aside a good chunk of that. I recommend 10% for what we call CapEx, capital expenditures, uh, water heater, furnace, roof. All that stuff is eventually going to fail, and you're going to need to replace it. So you want to start building up an account to where you can pull from that stuff. Keep in mind also, just repairs that come up. You get a call from your tenant and they say, hey, my stove isn't working. What have you? And you got to go replace that. You don't have cash on hand to cover those expenses. So just my 2 cents there. But just for keeping things simple, house hacking. You buy that duplex, you have 2 units now, you're living in one, so you're receiving rental income on the other side. By the way, when you go in, if you're financing that, you can actually go to your lender, and I've got some amazing rockstar lenders that do this. You can use 75% of the projected rental income from that other side towards your purchase power when you're getting approved for that loan. I'll say that again because that's huge. If you're buying a one, two or more unit property, and you have projected rental income, the lender's going to want to see data to support that, but you can use up to 75% of what you're anticipating that you will receive, that the unit has been receiving. Use that towards income for your pre-approval for your loan process. if you have questions about that, definitely hit me up after this. You can shoot me an email, message me on social media, what have you, and I'm super happy to connect you with some amazing rock star lenders that are very well versed with investment properties and how to structure this for you to be a big win, right? So you can use it that way. Again, you get them in there, you're receiving the rentals, you're setting aside a little bit for capital expenditures. Man, that's awesome. Later on, if you wanted to hang on to that property and you wanted to move into a different primary residence for yourself, guess what? Now you've got 2 units that you can rent out, or three if you bought a triplex. Whatever the case may be. House hacking. That is one example of house hacking. I'm going to share with you a personal story of what my wife Lindsay and I did for house hacking. Oh, we got a thumbs up on the channel. Yes, appreciate you checking that out, the live stream. Thank you so much. Much love, and yeah, if you got any stories as well or questions about anything I'm talking about, leave it in the chat. I've got the chat box up here. Checking it out real quick. Okay, so we're all caught up there, which is great. I'm getting all fired up talking about the house hacking here to share you our personal story. So our very first home that we purchased was a single family home, and it had a basement with a separate entrance in the back. So you couldn't get into the basement through the house. You actually had to go through the backyard, and we had a separate entrance down into that basement. So what we did was we converted that unfinished basement space into an apartment. We set up an apartment there for ourselves, and then we put that house. Now, this was in Colorado Springs. I need to preface this because um, things have changed with the law regarding short-term rentals. But at this point in time, we bought this place in 2016. There was really no regulation on short-term rentals in Colorado Springs, so it wasn't an issue at all. We didn't need a license or anything like that. We put the house up. My wife is a professional photographer, real estate photographer, so she took some amazing photos of the place, got it all nice and staged, looking nice. I went ahead and put our residence up on there as an Airbnb. And within a couple of weeks, we had our first booking. Within a couple of weeks after that, we were fully booked out. I mean, that was huge. The income alone from that was triple our housing payment. So we could have paid our mortgage 3 times every single month with just the income from Airbnb that house. Pretty cool, right? And you know what? If we just got sick of being in the basement or whatever, we could block it out on the Airbnb app, go stay in the house for a week, 2 weeks, whatever, and then, when we were ready to make some more money, then we'd open it back up, get those bookings lined up. Boom. So that's how we did our house hack. Another way, I'm going to give a shout out to my man Sam. Bought himself a beautiful condo in Golden a few years back, and he did a live-in flip. So before he even moved in, my dude had contractors in the place already working on it, updating, renovating, and then during his time living there, he continued to work on it and just beautify it, and then cashed out this last year. And now he's getting ready to buy himself a real nice place, with the equity, the appreciation gain there. All his hard work is really paying off. I'm super proud of you, Sam, if you're watching. So I give you a thumbs up on that one. But that's it. That's a live-in fix and flip. So I'm sure you've seen on HGTV the flippers will come in and buy a place that needs to be renovated. They'll tear it down to the studs, and that's That's TV, but I mean, some flips are like that. Some flips they actually do take it all the way down to the studs, redo plumbing, electrical, all that good stuff, drywall. Um, but you don't need to. You could, a flip could be considered that you come in and the kitchens and the bathrooms are out of date. You come in and you do those. Maybe you slap a fresh coat of paint on the front door to make it really pop and give some good curb appeal. Maybe that you do new paint and carpet throughout. That could be considered a flip, and that's pretty low cost. But um, here's the best part about doing a live-in flip. Um, when you buy a property and then you go to sell it, there is something called capital gains tax. Well, the beauty of doing a live-in flip, and this only works if you live in it for 2 of the last 5 years. You don't have to have lived in it the entire duration that you own that property. Let's say you owned it 5 years, you lived in it the first two, then you had renters in it for three, and before you hit that 5 year mark, you um, unload that property, you sell it. You can actually not you can actually avoid paying capital gains tax on that because you lived in it for 2 of the last 5 years. So that's huge. That's substantial because capital gains tax can really get you. It can be the difference between you making money off of that sale or you losing money. So um, these are just a few examples that I wanted to share of kind of how house hacking works. So let's dive back into first. Let me check in on my chat, see how everyone's doing. Oh, quiet tonight on the chat box. That's all good though. That's all good. That means I'm doing a great job covering everything that you want to hear. Everyone's just ninja focused on that, so that's cool. I'm gonna keep rolling with it here. So let's see here. Yeah. So we covered doing the live-in flip, buying a small multifamily, living in one unit, renting the other units out. Um, House hacking has several distinct benefits to make it an especially terrific investment for first-time investors. Low or no down payment financing. When you plan to live in a property for at least a year, financing becomes much more friendly for the borrower. For example, an FHA loan allows for just a 3.5% down payment, and the USDA, which is the United States Department of Agriculture loan, allows for zero down if you're buying in a rural area. USDA maps are available online. You can actually go look at the map and see where those lines are. And if you're buying in the USDA area, you can use USDA financing, zero down. Super cool program. Um, yeah. And then, of course, traditional, if you are in a position to put 20% down, they also work in this pricing structure and can do even more for your wealth building plans. Keeping those payments low if you're putting that much down is fantastic. And you've got already a good chunk of equity built in via that down payment. So, here's another something else I wanted to bring up. Um, Another house hack you can do is you can buy your first property and invest an investment property, move into it again, take advantage of like the low down payment program. I'm going to cover some more low down payment and down payment assistance fund in this next little segment here. But before I get too far off track there, you get into the property for a low down payment. You live in the property for a little while. Um, Guess what? Well, once you have enough equity in there, you can do you could either do a cash out refi on that first mortgage and pull money out, or you could do like a home equity line of credit, which is almost turning your house into a credit card. Um, and then by doing so, you use that equity and you could turn that equity into your down payment on your next property. And guess what? You can move into that one, hang on to this one, rent it out, and you can replicate this process over and over again. there's a lot of investors that actually do that strategy, and it works out amazingly. So that's yet another little house hack there. That the key is buying the property at the right price in the right area, and being in the right market to where you're going to have those appreciation gains, so that you will have that equity to tap into for your next down payment on the next property. uh, Otherwise, if you don't have the equity available to you, then, you know, yes, you can still rent it out. You can look into creative financing on your next properties, but it just makes it a little bit more challenging. So wanted to throw that one out there. But here's another benefit to house hacking is on the job training. So we I'll point to myself again. My wife and I didn't know a whole ton about property management. When we got into the Airbnb, we got to manage a short-term rental, our own property. So we got to see what it's like to, do the flips between people coming in. We got to dabble into hiring cleaners and seeing what that process looked like, and then deciding, are we going to self clean? Are we going to hire this out? Um, Being on site makes it way easier to do it ourselves. But again, if we're busy or we want to go out of town or something like that, which we did, then we needed a crew lined up, and then figuring out how we're going to do the key handoff for the next party that was staying there, all that. So, and kind of the same thing for if you have a long-term rental. It gives you that firsthand knowledge of what it's really like to be a landlord. Another consideration for you, because everyone thinks this idea is super sexy, to buy a duplex, live in one side, rent out the other. Well, what do you do when your tenant finds out that the landlord's right there across the wall from you? You know what I mean? Are they going to be cool, or are they going to abuse that and be asking you to do a bunch of stuff and be in your hair all the time? You might find that not to be your liking. You might want to hire a property manager and remain anonymous to that renter. How you do that is you buy the property, or if you already own it, then you deed the property to a company that you own. That way, your name isn't necessarily on like the lease agreement, right? Then the lease is between you and, or your tenant and your company that you own, rather than you, the landlord. So just some considerations, and then from there, just keeping a low profile to the point where, um, they may assume that you're another renter living next door. You're just their neighbor at that point, not necessarily their landlord neighbor. So just another consideration for you folks that are considering this. But yeah, let's dive back in here. So you're on the job training. Oh yeah, and along those same lines, when something breaks, are you going to be running over next door to fix it? Are you going to have a handyman do it? How involved you're going to be. So I covered a ton of that on my last episode. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You'll see all these on there. There's a playlist just for the Ask a Realtor live stream Q&A. So, and if you subscribe, then it'll notify you every time that we're going live here. So if you forget, it's Wednesdays at 6 o'clock. It'll notify you when we're live, so you can jump in and check it out. Cool. Another benefit: close monitoring of your investment. When you live in your investment property, keeping an eye on the property and making sure it's running at peak performance is easy. It's unlikely that the lawn will get overgrown, the tenants will move in a pit bull, or maintenance will go unreported for months, right? Not knocking pit bulls, because I love them, but if you have it in your lease, for example, breed restrictions because maybe you live in a community that you have them, you're you're far more likely to know, if you're on site, what your tenants are doing and not doing. So saved expenses, of course, because you live at the property, you can manage the other tenants yourself very easily. Don't have to worry about paying a property manager who will do substandard work, right? So, if you want it done right, do it yourself, that sort of thing. Um, just keep in mind, if you don't want them in your mix, then it might behoove you to find a good property manager um, that will take good care of your tenants, will take good care of your investment, and you know keep you from pulling your hair out. Cool. Awesome, you guys. So, yeah, that's kind of a wrap on the house hacking situation there that I wanted to chat with you guys about here. So, if you have any questions, leave them in the chat. I'll check on that real quick here before we move on to the down payment assistance available to first-time home buyers in Colorado. Okay, okay. All quiet on the chat front. That's cool with me. Let's keep this rolling here. So, uh, first-time home buyers, they have a program available to them here in Colorado. Actually, there's a few. The biggest one that we see the most often, we work with the most often, is called Colorado Housing Finance Authority, CHFA, or we call it CHAFA. CHAP is great. My wife and I used it to buy our own first primary residence. So I can't knock it. I tried it. I can't knock it. It's a beautiful program. My clients use it all the time as well. So, um, you know, I'm a fan. I'm a client as well as, you know, my business. So Jaffa works like this. You put the first 1,000 down, and then the down payment assistance will kick in. They have different programs available. There is a grant program. The grant program is great because those funds are truly just a gift from the government. Does not ever need to be repaid. Um, there's also a silent second. The silent second works like this. That down payment assistance is put in there after you put in your first 1,000, and it it will be applied at closing, so that you don't need to bring all that money down. Gets you into the property. You have your first mortgage. It's also through Chapel, by the way. You make your payments to them on that first mortgage. The silent second is what you borrowed for the down payment. So, if it's $10,000, $11,000, it's silent because there's no payments that you make on that, and there's no interest. 0% interest rate. Um, must be repaid when you sell that property, or once you pay off the first. Then you got to pay off that second mortgage. If you hang on to it for however long, 30 years, or if you make extra payments, then you can knock that down to 20. Either way, though, that needs to get paid off. Or even if you do a refinance, the refinance is actually going to also pay off that silent second on there. So I already, you're like, why would I ever do that when I have the grant available to me? The answer is that the terms look a lot better on that silent second. So yes, the grant program is available. You can get in on that one, but the terms aren't as good. So there's a few more barriers to entry there. So a lot of folks end up looking at it as, you know what, I was going to put that money down anyways if this program wasn't available. Terms look great on it. I might as well do the silent second. I plan to be in the property for at least a few years anyways. I don't have to pay on it. It's not sitting there accumulating interest like my good old student loans, right? So it can be a great option for people to get in. And with the appreciation rates that we're seeing in Colorado, the amount of time it takes you to gain enough equity that it would have paid off that silent second, it's no longer a question of years. It's a question of months now here in Colorado. Crazy, crazy appreciation rates. I do this thing for my previous clients that bought a home with me. I send them market reports pretty often, but every year on their closing anniversary, I'll actually dive in and run numbers for them again, as if they were to sell the property, just to let them know, hey, here's what the equity, here's what your value looks like now. And by the way, there's a calculation that we do, um, to determine what the appreciation rate is. So I can tell them based on their initial investment, if they bought it at 350 and it's worth 412 today, we take that, what is that? Quick math, 62K gains divided by their 350. Got any math wizards out there? What's that look like? I'm just pulling numbers out of the air here, but um, they're very realistic numbers in terms of the real estate game here. 17.7% appreciation over 12 months. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen better than that. Honestly, it's crazy. It's crazy out here in Colorado right now. So if you're on the fence about buying a property, you and I should really get together over a cup of coffee, talk about your goals for your financial goals for the future, and see if home ownership is right for you, because you got to make a housing payment anyways. Why not, build your wealth empire with that? So, and you don't need 20% down. That on that 400 grand house, yeah, since I got the calculator out here, you don't need 80 grand to get into that home. You might be able to get in for as little as $1,000. I have some clients that we just closed in November 2021. I'm leaning in super close here because this is crazy. Got some clients in. They put 4,000 down. It's called an earnest money deposit. They put 4,000 down, and at the closing table, they received a check back for $3,995.05. Pull out those calculators again, my math wizards. That's a 95-cent down payment on a home that they own now. It's theirs. So I thought that was super rad. We were able to get that done. That wasn't through CHAFA. That was through a different program called Metro DPA. But I love sharing that story just to show people what's possible. And yeah, they had to have 4 grand down. I always recommend to folks when they're first talking to me, I'm like, look, the housing market's so competitive right now. Yes, you can get in for 1,000, but that's becoming more of a rarity. It's more the case now that you really want to save up between 5 to 7K. More is better, but 5 or 7K, and I can get you into a home here. Pretty easy. We do it all the time. So, just wanted to kind of share that with you. CHAFA, they require these home buyers to go to a home buyer education class. Pre-pandemic, those classes were in person. It's about a 5-hour event. But post-pandemic, they've been more virtual, which is great. You can log in from home. They have you sit in front of the computer and hold up your ID, just to make sure that you're actually in there, involved in the class. You can't just turn it on and go cook dinner or watch some movies or whatever. They do little check-ins, what have you, to make sure people are engaged with the training. But it's great stuff. They have a realtor guest come in and teach a portion of the class, and I used to do that all the time. I used to go in and teach those classes. In fact, it's great. I met a former coworker at one of them one time. They were like, "Oh my goodness!" They were like, "That's so wild. We're under contract on our house." I was like, "Oh, man, that's so awesome, you guys. I'm so proud of you for that." It was really cool to see a familiar face out there teaching one of those classes. So, but anyways, you take the class, you get a certificate, you send it over to your lender. By the way, if you are working with a mortgage lender, make sure that they are well versed with these products, because if you're looking to house hack and get in on your first investment, it's going to be important that you have a lender that can do that. Let me know. I've got some amazing lenders that specialize in these products, know them, know the ins and outs of them, the intricacies, and will take good care of you with your financial needs for buying that property. And by the way, I'm an awesome realtor, and I'll be able to help you out with, guiding you through the offer, the inspection, the appraisal, the closing, all that good stuff. I got you. Cool. Awesome. Well, let me check again here on the chat, see what we've got. If you're watching this after live, this is being recorded. So if you're watching the recording and you have some stuff that comes up, you can leave a comment out there on YouTube. That's great. I'll pick those up and leave a story. I'd love to share it on one of the future episodes. Leave a question. I'd love to dive in and get you a great answer on that. Circle back to it on the channel. Of course, if it's something, more private pertaining to like a personal deal that you're working on or whatever, you can always just shoot me a private message and I got you. Got you covered. Great. Well, I appreciate the love tonight. Thank you for logging in and checking out Ask a Realtor. That's a wrap on this episode, and we've got another great one coming up next week. So hope to see you folks on that one. Thank you.